Hey everybody, JCB here with the Awesomist, and you're watching the Awesomist YouTube channel. Alright, let's do this. Let's scratch another Six Flags park off my list. As you guys all know, my beautiful wife and I have made it our mission to visit every single Six Flags theme park within the United States of America, not counting Hurricane Harbor. Anyway, every year for our anniversary, we visit a new Six Flags park in a different state. So far, we've been to Six Flags Magic Mountain, Discovery Kingdom, Six Flags Over Texas, Six Flags Fiesta Texas, Six Flags St. Louis, Six Flags Over Georgia, and as of now, we've also been to Six Flags Frontier City in the state of Oklahoma. So how many more parks does that leave for us to visit? Let's see, Six Flags America, Great Adventure, Great Escape, Darien Lake, and Six Flags New England. Frontier City was a weird one for us. We weren't sure exactly when we were going to visit this park because back when we started this little tradition, Six Flags Frontier City didn't actually technically exist. This park has changed hands a lot. It first opened in 1958, but was sold in 1981 to a real estate company that almost tore it down to make room for, well, real estate.
It's free real estate.
The park was then part of the Six Flags family from 1987 to 2006 before being sold off to CNL Properties. It then changed hands again to Premier Parks in 2011 before being sold to EPR Properties in 2016, who technically still owns it today, but in 2018 EPR signed a licensing deal with Six Flags to manage the park for them. So yeah, kind of a mess. Also, this park seems really geared and orientated towards small children, and a lot of Awesomites actually told me in the comments not to bother with Frontier City at all and to definitely not waste an anniversary trip on it. But every park means every park. Thankfully, my wife has family in Oklahoma anyway, so we knew it was just a matter of time before we'd be visiting Oklahoma at some point, and we could just add an extra day on to go to Frontier City. But because we didn't know when we were going to actually go, I hadn't at the time done any real research on the park. So on the way to Oklahoma, I looked at the ride list and came up with just 5 rides I was interested in checking out. Those rides were Quick Draw, Diamondback, Silver Bullet, Steel Lasso, and Wildcat. And on March 27th, we made an impromptu visit to Six Flags Frontier City. I'm here at Six Flags Frontier City. We just got into the gates, and we're gonna check out some rides. The first ride we went on was Quick Draw. This is the Sally Corporation's dark ride that takes a rider through an Old West shooting gallery. The whole ride is about 2 minutes long. It was charming to say the least. Though I do have to say it's incredibly difficult to aim and film video at the same time. I mean, I did okay, but my score was only in the triple digits. I know everyone says this when they do poorly, but I think there was something wrong with my gun because there were times where I was right on top of the target, like almost close enough to smack it with my hand, and it wouldn't register a hit. The park itself is very well themed. It looks like a real-life ghost town. The buildings look great, and the general aesthetic is really well done. This is a proper theme park with a proper theme. That said, one thing Six Flags fans will notice is that the park doesn't have any DC superhero or Looney Tunes characters. And again, I think this kind of comes down to the fact that this isn't technically a Six Flags park, it's just managed by Six Flags. So it puts it in kind of a weird spot, and there's things that a normal Six Flags visitor won't see that they're expecting. For instance, I know that Six Flags isn't exactly known for its dedication to cleanliness, but compared to Frontier City, every other theme park I've been to has been a shining example of a well-run, squeaky clean machine. For instance, there were kids hanging on the handrails in the lines. There were people walking around with like diaper chins for masks. And throughout the entire day, only one employee that I ever heard actually corrected somebody and asked them to put their mask on properly. Throughout the entire day. The bathrooms lacked paper towels and soap in the soap dispensers. A lot of the hand sanitizer stations placed around the park for COVID were empty. And it just seemed like while we were in Oklahoma, I got the vibe that Oklahoma as a whole has kind of just decided that COVID-19 isn't a thing anymore. Next, we went on Silver Bullet, an Anton Schwarzkopf steel coaster that was fine. Nothing really to say about this ride. It was fun. It reminds me of the Revolution, which makes sense because it's the same manufacturer. There's just not much to say. The next ride we went on was Steel Lasso. The line looked a little on the long side, and we learned that the line was long because the ride had just broken down and was closed. So instead of waiting in that line, we headed further into the park to check out Wildcat. Unfortunately, that ride hadn't opened yet for the day, and there was no set time for when it would. So we decided to head back toward the front of the park and check out Diamondback, and on our way, we saw this sign. Pepsi? What the hell? Every Six Flags park that I've been to has been a Coca-Cola sponsored park, so it was really weird to see a Pepsi sign at a Six Flags park. Anyway, the entrance to Diamondback was a little hard to find. Turns out you need to go through the gift shop at the very front of the park, which means we had to backtrack all the way from Wildcat to the front of the park. Diamondback is an aerodynamic shuttle loop coaster that was surprisingly smooth, and while short, was actually pretty fun. Oh yeah, while we were waiting in line for Diamondback, like we were at the very front of the line, my nephew Raiden got his hand stung by, we think, a bee. And while his hand was like more or less fine, it wasn't a lot of pain. We kind of stumbled into a weird customer service situation. We asked the ride attendants if they had a Band-Aid or even any like hand sanitizer that we can use to kind of clean the sting while we went on the ride. And they replied that no, they do not have any hand sanitizer either on their person or at the ride station, that they had no Band-Aids or first aid kit of any kind, and that their phone at the ride control panel was not working, so they could not call anybody who might have those things. Which is just what you want to hear when you're about to go on a coaster made by Aerodynamics. I mean, what if something went wrong? They're gonna like send somebody on foot to run across the park and try to find a manager? Another annoying thing that we ran into was that the cashiers in the main gift shop had no idea where the first aid office was. Turns out it's way back here over by Wildcat, where we just came from, just kind of tucked into the corner. So we walked back across the entire park again. So after waiting about 10 minutes for the first aid office to open up, a park manager actually wrapped my nephew's hand in gauze, which was really nice of him. Then my wife kind of explained some of the complaints that we had about the park so far that day, and his response was that Frontier City was the first park to reopen during COVID, and that they actually initiated a lot of the COVID protocols that the theme parks nationwide are using. Which is weird flex, but okay. I mean, it doesn't mean much if you came up with the COVID protocols if you're not also following the COVID protocols. Just saying. Anyway, after that we finally got to go on Wildcat. Wildcat is a wooden coaster that was originally built by National Music Devices in 1968 for a park called Fairyland in Kansas City, but was left abandoned for 13 years in 1977 after the park was damaged by a major storm. It was then moved to Frontier City and refurbished. This was our favorite ride at the park. I was expecting it to be rough and bumpy, but to my surprise, it hit the right balance of thrill and comfort. One suggestion, though, for anybody who's never been on this ride is to brace yourself before the final stop right as you're entering the station, because it does stop very abruptly, and if you're not prepared, you might hurt yourself. Finally, it was time to ride Steel Lasso. This is a Vekoma steel inverted coaster that is the first and only suspended coaster in the state of Oklahoma. We waited in line for about an hour to get on this ride, and it was good. If I was a kid, I would love this ride, but as an adult, I feel like it's a little underwhelming. I feel like if I fell off this ride, I would sprain my ankle, but otherwise be okay. And that seems to be kind of a running theme throughout the entire park. It's very much geared toward little kids. There's some fantastic starter rides. If you have a small child who's never been on a coaster before, this park is definitely for them. But as far as thrill ride enthusiasts go, there's just not much here to offer. Near the front of the park, there's this big indoor space that appears to be used for indoor dining, which makes sense because I don't recall seeing any outdoor tables anywhere. My nephew said this space was once full of arcade games, which seems like a great idea, but maybe they had to take them all out because of COVID or something? I don't know. I mean, like I said, it doesn't really seem like they believe that COVID exists anymore, so it's weird. Next, we decided to take a look at the merchandise offered in the main gift shop, but we didn't actually buy anything. So that was our trip to Six Flags Frontier City. Ultimately, we did have a good time, though I will say that those 5 rides we went on are probably the only 5 rides worth checking out at the park, with the possible exception of the log flume, which was actually shut down the day we went, but it did look like it was fun. Overall, this park seems to be geared more towards children, like really, really small kids and people who have never been on a roller coaster before, which is fine. Just know that going in. Like, I am actually really glad that we did not waste an entire anniversary trip just going to Frontier City, so good looking out, people in the comments. Thank you very much for telling me that. It was a big help. I'm glad we went to Frontier City when we did. As far as where we plan to go to this year for our anniversary, I posted a poll on Twitter listing the parks we haven't visited yet, so be sure to click the link in the description below and cast your vote. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep being awesome. That could be my thumbnail right there. I just want to take a moment to comment on how clean the water looks. I don't think I've seen the park with this clean of water in a very long time.